They found the ashes of a fire. 100,000 years old. No name. No tools. Just a circle of scorched stones, alone in the desert. Who lit it? And why does it still matter today? Buried beneath the sands of the Kalahari, that fire lay silent for millennia. Its smoke long faded. Its builders long gone. And yet, something remains. Something more powerful than charcoal or bone. A question. Because this wasn't the fire of an ape. It was lit by a mind like ours. A mind that feared the dark, that sang, that remembered. That looked into the flames and wondered why. What if our image of these ancient people, grunting, brutish, barely human, is completely wrong? What if their lives were filled not just with danger and instinct, but with memory, music, and meaning? Pause and ask yourself, what would you see if you stood beside that fire tonight? Would you meet strangers, or something terrifyingly familiar? So we go back, 100,000 years, before kings, before writing, before even myth, to find the moment we truly became human. But to begin, we must ask, who were these early humans that walked the earth, not just with feet, but with thought? Imagine walking through ancient Africa, and locking eyes with a human who isn't quite you. Not an animal. Not a stranger. But, another version. 100,000 years ago, Homo sapiens were not alone. We shared the earth with other humans. Neanderthals in Europe, Denisovans in Asia, and even miniature Homo floresiensis in Indonesia. Each evolved, intelligent, adapted. But something was stirring in us. The anatomically modern humans emerging from Africa. Our skulls were different. Our tools more refined. Our minds, restless. We see the clues, red ochre etched with patterns. Shell beads shaped and worn. Objects made not for eating or hunting, but for meaning. Ask yourself, what was the first idea someone couldn't point to, but believed in anyway? When did survival give birth to imagination? These traces are not just artifacts. They are thought, frozen in time. But thoughts don't live in isolation. To understand them, we must step inside a life, inside a home. Let's descend into a cave where families once gathered, mourned, and remembered. Their ashes still whisper, high above the South African plains. A cave breathes stories older than language. Inside, a child was buried, with care. Why? And what does it reveal about love before history? Border Cave isn't just a shelter. It's a time capsule. Inside, archaeologists found a baby. Wrapped in grasses, buried with red ochre. Not discarded. Honored. Nearby, cooking hearths, shaped bone tools. Remnants of root plants. All signs of planned life. Medicine. Diet. Comfort. This wasn't savagery. It was society. Think about this, if someone 100,000 years ago held a funeral. Were they already imagining an afterlife? Or just unable to let go? Red pigment stains the soil. Fire smudges the ceiling. These aren't just marks of survival, but of memory. And in that memory lies something deeply human. But society means more than love. It means rules, rhythms, roles. So what did their communities look like? Who led, and who listened? No kings. No borders. Just small bands wandering the wild. What kept them together wasn't power, but something stronger, trust. 100,000 years ago, we lived in tight-knit groups. Maybe 20 to 50 people. Families by blood, bonded by survival. There were no armies. No jails. Justice lived in the eyes of the group. Leadership was earned by wisdom, not force. Children played beside spears. Elders passed on stories. Everyone shared what they found or hunted. Could you live like that, no privacy, no possessions, no lies? Just firelight, footsteps, and your people. Would you thrive, or fracture? And through this intimacy came language, gesture, song, myth. Carried not in books, but in bodies. But life on the land was unforgiving. And when the earth turned cold or dry, everything changed. So how did they adapt when survival itself was the challenge? Now imagine this, no shelter, no food, no water. A storm rolls in. Predators stalk nearby. Would you know how to live through the night? 100,000 years ago, climate ruled everything. Glacial pulses brought droughts, floods, hunger. One wrong move could doom a band. Children could be taken by leopards. A broken bone could exile you to death. Stillbirths. Fevers. Snakebite. Starvation. Yet they endured. They tracked game with precision. Boiled roots for medicine. Sharpened fire-hardened spears. Wrapped skins for warmth. They didn't just survive, they adapted. But here's the twist, when things got harder, they got more creative. Why? Because in the ashes of struggle, something beautiful started to bloom. They began to create things with no function, except feeling. Deep in a coastal cave, someone scratches a geometric pattern into red ochre. It serves no purpose. It's not a tool. And yet, it means everything. In Blombo's cave, 100,000-year-old artifacts whisper the first signs of symbolic thought. Engraved ochre. Beads pierced and strung. Tiny toolkits of pigment. This wasn't survival. It was expression. Here's the real question, why would someone dying of hunger stop to make art? What were they trying to say, and to whom? Maybe the marks were identity. Maybe protection. Maybe beauty. Maybe grief. But they weren't random. They were shared. Repeated. Remembered. Art didn't follow civilization. Art preceded it. And when you give people art, soon they begin to dream of gods. A child lies buried, curled, as if sleeping. Red pigment around the bones. Was it ritual? Was it love? Or something even deeper, belief? Across Africa, burials start to carry intent. Position. Pigment. Grave goods. A sign that death wasn't the end. Among modern hunter-gatherers, trance dances still echo these ancient rhythms. Crossing into spirit worlds where ancestors walk. Animals speak. And illness has meaning. Do you believe in something greater? Then maybe, you already share something with those first spiritual minds. Their world was alive. Sacred. Connected. The sky wasn't empty. The forest wasn't silent. Every illness, every dream, had a message. And perhaps this belief gave them the courage for the greatest journey of all time. One day, they left. No maps. No safety. Just instinct. Step by step, they walked out of Africa. And into every corner of the earth. Around 80,000 to 60,000 years ago. Small bands of Homo sapiens began to spread. Across deserts. Over mountains. Through jungles. They reached Australia by 50,000 BCE. Crossed into Europe. Met Neanderthals. Encountered Denisovans. Interbred. Fought. Learned. Their myths traveled too. Adapted. Transformed. The story of us became many. Think of this, your DNA may contain the memory of someone who crossed a glacier on foot. How far did your story really begin? But as we expanded, the seeds of inequality and conflict began to sprout. Were our ancient values enough to hold us together? A cracked skull. A body burned. Bones thrown into a pit. Were these accidents, or the first crimes? Even in early human life, we find signs of tension. Jealousy. Betrayal. Violence. But alongside it, more care. Bones that healed. Old individuals kept alive. Generosity beyond usefulness. We weren't just beasts. We were becoming moral. What if the worst of us, and the best of us, both began in the same ancient fire? Which part do we carry forward? Music echoed then. So did fear. So did love. All the ingredients were there. So the question is, how much of you is still them? Close your eyes. Feel your breath. Hear your heartbeat. That rhythm? It's 100,000 years old. You carry their fire. Their fears. Their wonder. You are the dream of the ones who huddled beneath stars. Who watched the moon and asked why. You aren't modern. You are continuing. So, what was life like 100,000 years ago? Maybe it's better to ask, what is life still trying to be? Not all of them survived. But the ones who imagined, who cared, who wondered, did. That's why you're here. And that's why the fire still burns.